I'm pretty excited to be here. This is a great event because we get the opportunity to share thoughts about our industry, present and future. And this has been a transformational year for soccer in the United States for a lot of reasons. But I think one of the most important is this partnership that MLS and Apple have developed to bring a new model to develop and also deliver content to fans and elevate fan experience. And it's hard to believe that we started this road only in February of this year. MLS kicked off this 28th season, also going into the first year of a 10-year partnership with the most innovative company in the world. And MLS Season Pass is a true collaboration between Major League Soccer and Apple with the idea of putting fans first. That was the main goal for both companies. So in the middle of it, the greatest player of all time came to play here for this league and for this city, coincidentally. So I'm pretty excited because we are going to get to talk a little bit about that and follow up Xavi, which was great in explaining this new era for soccer in the U.S. I've experienced firsthand how MLS and Apple have built this model that it's, for me, it's going to be kind of a blueprint of what we're going to get in the future for delivering content, sports content to fans. And I cannot think about anyone else better than these two gentlemen that I'm going to introduce in a few seconds to talk about this change. So please help me welcome Commissioner of MLS, Don Garber, and Senior Vice President of Apple Services, Eddy Q. Gentlemen, you're playing home, right, Eddy?
This is my home. This is my team, Inter Miami, so it's great to be back home again.
Nice, nice. Muy bueno tenerte en casa otra vez. Sí. Commissioner, we were talking just last week a little bit of what we're going to be talking here in front of this Soccerex audience. For me, this is a very proud moment because I was there in San Jose when we launched MLS Season Pass. And I remember there was a lot of hesitation in some part of the industry that this could be made possible. We're now just finished the first round of Audi MLS Cup playoffs, and we're almost there, final stretch of Season 1. So I wanted to get directly from you, what's the thing that you're most proud about this first year, and what you are most excited about the second year coming?
Okay, Tony, I'll start. First, it's great to be back in Miami. It's become a really wonderful home for our new team, Inter Miami. But, Tony, people have been questioning soccer in America since I started 25 plus years ago. People question whether or not we would be a league of choice for the best players. We obviously were able to achieve that. People question whether we can build infrastructure for the sport. We built 26 stadiums, question whether or not we'd be able to build the ecosystem for the sport. We'll soon have our 30th team. And I understand as we continue to think about being steps ahead of the rest of not only the football world, but the Major League sports world in North America, that people would be intrigued by this idea that would be the first league in the world to have a partnership with a company like Apple that would transform the way fans can consume our product. We had 60 different start times in 2022. Now we have our games on Saturday night, on Wednesday night. Our attendance has exploded without Lionel Messi. As a result of that, our viewership has gone up. We have a direct relationship with our consumers. And most importantly, if anybody would have sat here a year ago and said that Major League Soccer would have a partnership with the most innovative, most technologically focused, and the largest company in the world, and as Eddy will say, turn a hardcore sports fan into a hardcore MLS fan, they'd have thought that it was impossible. And here we are today, almost done with the first season of MLS Season Pass, this great partnership, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, as the commissioner said, look, I'm a huge sports fan, and what we wanted to do is bring sports and bring MLS to fans the way they wanted, not the way that a television channel or any other distribution mechanism would want to do it. So, for example, we had all the games starting at pretty much at 7:30. That let us do things like MLS 360, where we could go around multiple games. We did multi-view, so you could see more than one game at a time very, very easily on your Apple TV or your iPad. We've done things that are truly innovative that, as a fan, is what you want. To be able to watch games, get highlights, be able to see penalty kicks in picture-in-picture. There are all kinds of things that we're doing to the game that is all about the fan. And that's what we tried to do from the very beginning. It's been amazing. We've had more than 1 million viewers to watch the biggest games this season. No one expected that. We think the growth of soccer, you know, I was one of those that the commissioner was talking about. I lived in Miami 40 years ago, and it's always been soccer is just around the corner. It's not around the corner now. It's here.
Yeah.
It's now. And when everyone in the world now knows about MLS, everyone knows about Inter Miami, thanks to Messi and the work that the league is doing, and we couldn't be more excited about it. No blackouts. You buy a season pass anywhere in the world, you can watch the game. I travel to Mexico a lot. You're in Mexico, I can watch all the games. Doesn't matter that I bought it in the U.S. You can't do that in any sport today. Any league, any sport. Making it all about the fan, about the fan, about the fan.
And to that point, I know of a lot of players that are like just thrilled that their families are being able to watch every game at every time. So you were talking about becoming more of a MLS fan during the season. What surprised you during this first season about the league, about the games?
Yeah, I think there's the quality of play of the players that are now in MLS, I think it's been a substantial upgrade over the years. And ultimately, you want to have the best players. If you want to have the best league, you need to have the best players. And that's something that I think all the MLS teams, and so when I looked at the competitiveness of the games, it's been amazing. I will tell you, I think the funnest and the best time I had was watching Leagues Cup.
Yeah, that was something else.
It was something else around it. There was a time I remember getting home on a Tuesday, and there were 4 games going on. I had multi-view on. So I had all 4 games watched. All 4 games were between 70 and 80 minutes. All the games were tied. And you're sitting there looking at each one, and the competitiveness of the league right now is off the charts and just keeps getting better and better. And so the games are just really exciting. And then I went to Duke. I'm a huge Duke basketball fan. When you go to an MLS game, it's the closest thing. I've never seen anything like it other than college sports. The fans and the belief and the excitement and the motivation that people have in the games, that's what you see in college sports. You just don't see that in the pros. And that's another big thing that MLS has that's huge, that people, if you haven't gone to a game, you have no idea.
Yeah, that's right. And Commissioner, since Eddy touched on Leagues Cup, that's when the greatest player of all time debuted in this, not in the league itself, but in this soccer. So we cannot talk about the success of year one without talking about Lionel Messi getting here. What was the particularity of MLS structure that led the league to be able to bring a guy like Leo Messi?
Tony, let me take a step back because I know, our good friend Mayor Suarez, and thanks for all your support in getting our stadium project done. And Xavi was very instrumental in the Messi deal. Talked a lot about that earlier. This is an audience of way oversold 500 people who are connected to and thinking about the sport here in this part of the world. We have, in essence, created an environment that the rest of the world is looking at, the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and intrigued by where the sport is and how we're capturing this idea of a new North America, this market that people, to Eddy's point, saying, where is soccer and where was it 20 years ago? And today, in today's event, is indicative of that. So I'm going to get to the Messi thing, though it's a bit overdone. We kicked off this season with 82,000 people at the Rose Bowl. 2 teams that have beautiful soccer stadiums played a game not in their stadium, and it was the largest game we've ever had in our history. We launched a partnership with Apple that most people around the world never thought would ever get done. We have a new team in St. Louis that sold out every game, that had an unbelievable team on the field, and then we had this Leagues Cup. I'm intrigued by the NBA Cup, which has just been launched, this idea of an innovative new in-season tournament. Well, guess what? They had an innovative in-season tournament against another country taking place here in our sport, the sport that all of us care about and really love. And then when you have an environment like that and you can go out and think about what's the idea is to be a league of choice. We want the rest of the world to think about this market in the road to Copa America, the Club World Cup in 25 and the World Cup in 26, that this is the epicenter of the sport. And in order to do that, you've got to get the best players in the world to start saying, I want to play here. So this idea that Jorge and Jose Mas and Xavi, Apple and Adidas could be, along with the league, convince the best player in our lifetime, if not the history of the sport, to not only play here, but thrive here and succeed here and be happy here, is indicative as to where the sport is and what the opportunity is for all of us that are involved in building this game in the years going forward. And that's going to reap benefit to media partners like Apple, to our fans that are growing around the world. The fact that a Messi fan can, whether they're in Buenos Aires, whether they're in Europe, or they're in Mexico, or they're in Miami, can watch a game with a press of a button, is part of what I think the future of our sport and ultimately our league is going to be. So we couldn't be happier with Leo. The structure of being able to partner with him with our club, partner with them with our Apple partnership, is indicative of the fact that we are going to have no boundaries to what it is that we're going to think about in terms of where the sport can be, and look to partner with everybody. That could be FIFA, that could be CONMEBOL, that could be media partners like Apple, and it can be anybody out here who's thinking about what can the future of the sport be, because our league and our structure is going to empower all of that.
Well, one thing about this, so we spent a lot of money and time trying to create drama for TV Plus, scripted drama. The best thing, Messi, and what sports does, it is the greatest drama in the world. It's unscripted. You don't know what's going to happen. And if we had written the drama of Messi coming to MLS and we put it on TV, no one would have believed it, because it was so good and so much better than you could have even imagined. And so the fact that he can, get the kick with the last play of the game and win on his first game, to everything that transpired, it was just amazing to watch. And it's an incredible feat that it's what's amazing about sports, and why we're so excited about what the future holds.
Tony, I'm just going to interrupt you a second. We have two players that are playing in Copa America for Argentina, playing in our league. Think about the unexpected.
Yep.
And think about there are a handful of players that are in the pool for the Argentinian national team. And that idea of how we could power all of that for all of us, not just our 30 teams, but for the women's game and what that's going to mean for them. And ultimately, the future is so bright because of all of the elements of what happened this year, and the next number of years are going to be almost unthinkable in what it can achieve for all of us.
To your point, the amount of people that came to me and said that day, how come this cannot be unscripted? That final play, that free kick, and I was there. We were there in the stadium. It was simply awesome. I want to talk to you a little bit about the improvements and the growth of the service of MLS Season Pass, because I know you're an avid sports fan, and you were not so happy with the way that sports was being delivered to fans. So in that regard, I know also that you usually chat and have exchanges with team owners from MLS, like in real time. Have you been able to implement any changes on the services through those feedbacks?
Oh, absolutely. One of the great things that we've done is we have a partnership in this. This is not a media deal as you typically see. We are completely vested in this, and the way the deal is structured is the only way I win is if MLS wins, the only way MLS wins is if I win. And so we have this relationship where we make we're looking at the game and looking at it for fans in the exact same way, whatever's better. So a lot of owners have my cell phone number, and they're texting me during the game or saying, hey, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? For example, on MLS 360, we were putting too many graphics on the bottom, and I agreed with them, and we can make the change in real time. There's no discussions, there's no negotiations that have to happen, because you have a common interest here that's completely aligned. And so it's incredibly fun to do. And so you come up with any idea, we can try it out. We were trying to decide how many games to put in front of the paywall, how many games to put behind the paywall. We can make all of these changes in real time.
And Tony, just another
Yes.
point. The Apple ecosystem, having MLS News up on
Apple News.
on Apple News, having Apple Maps have not only all of our stadiums, but things in and around it, and tying local sponsors into that. All of the value of the Apple ecosystem was a big part of this in our early discussions with Eddy. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, and we're just getting started. Obviously, we did this, look, the thing I'm most proud of, if you look at the quality of the production and what you were doing, it's as good as any NFL game. That's the quality of it. It's the best there is in sports when you're watching this on television or on any of your devices or anything else. And that's something we wanted to do. And if you want to be the best, then the production and everything else needs to be the best, not just the players. And so part of that was everything that we have in our ecosystem, whether it's Apple News, whether it's podcasts. We've got a great podcast on MLS that happens every single week, whether it's the stadiums. And so we did the stadiums and all the bars, and we did these watch parties all around. As I said, whether you're watching, no matter where you are in the world, whatever device you are in the world, whether you're on a PlayStation, a Roku, any of the Apple devices, any way you want to watch, you can watch MLS now anywhere in the world.
3 languages also.
We do it in Spanish, we do it in English, and we do it in French. And you can switch very easily between them. You also have this, I think this MLS 360 is awesome for fans too, because you get to go around all the best games. And people are loving that as well. It's something that's never been done.
And I'm going to just add something.
By the way, and you can't do that. The reason why MLS 360 is never done is because you have to have all the rights, and you can't and you have to have them globally if you want everybody to do that. And so that's one of the opportunities when you're thinking about it from a fan point of view. I have this problem with every sport that I love to watch. I can't do that.
Yeah, that's I would say that's one of the great achievements. I need to ask you both, and I'm going to start with you, Commissioner, about 2026. And Xavi made a great point of what's coming to the U.S. in terms of international soccer, but nothing's bigger than the World Cup, and that's right around the corner. So I know the significance that 1994 had for the inception of the league and the growth of the league. So how can Apple and MLS capitalize on what's going to be the largest World Cup so far in history?
I'm going to start with, for all of us who run businesses, it's almost impossible to have a forecast 4 years out, 3 years out, 2 years out, know exactly what is going to happen in a moment of time. And that's what we in the soccer world and MLS have with the World Cup in 2026. I've said this to the leaders of FIFA, and I know Romy's going to be talking here later this morning. It's going to be bigger than most people expect. This is a soccer nation. We're going to have most of those stadiums being owned and MLS markets, many of them owned stadiums owned by MLS team owners. All of the activity and energy of the world of football is going to be turning their eyes to this continent and delivering the best sporting event in the world in ways that everybody that's part of the ecosystem is going to capitalize on. And all of us are thinking about how could our teams be involved? What could we do to build our fan energy around that? What could we do with data sharing, data management, and data understanding? What can we do in the communities, working with the host teams and our host cities and our respective teams? How can we have a legacy that's not dependent on others, but have a legacy that is even bigger than the legacy was for the sport in 1994? And all the research we've done on the last 4 or 5 World Cups, there's always a boost in the pro leagues after a World Cup takes place. But this has to be more than that. This needs to be changing the way people think about our sport with the biggest sporting event in the world and having years to be able to work on those plans.
Yeah, 2024. The best thing we can do is have a great season in 2024 to get to where we want to be in 2026. And one of the best things you want for the World Cup is MLS players playing in the World Cup.
Yep.
And we already had that last World Cup, and we're going to have more of them this upcoming one, I believe. But the best momentum here is the momentum we've already started, so that what you don't have is you have this demand of the World Cup and then it falls down. It's not going to be. We're going to be rising up as we are already. If you look at the numbers of viewerships, we will be one of the biggest sports in America is being watched today in a very short amount of time. And so the perspective for this is about all the growth that we have in 24 and 25 leading to the World Cup, then having a lot of players there, and then just, again, building even more up.
Getting to the broader picture, over the course of the initial 10 years of this partnership, what does look like success for MLS and Apple?
You know, I'm going to throw to Eddy because we talk about this all the time. Eddy, talk about your view on where the sports landscape is, and then we can bring it back to how that works for us in our deal. But I don't think you could look at the impact on Major League Soccer and what our expectations are until you have somebody who's an expert in the field talking about where he thinks the sports media landscape going.
Yeah, the United States of America is the biggest country in the world, the most economic country in the world. So when I looked at soccer, I'm like, people think it's crazy, but why wouldn't we have the best soccer league in the world? Why wouldn't the best players want to play here? And so when I look at the 10 years, in my mind, we got into this because we thought that together we could build the best soccer league in the world. That's the goal. That's the objective. You know, we're trying to be the best. Otherwise, why do it? And it's always crazy at the beginning because obviously right now there's Premier Leagues and the La Liga and Serie A and all of that standpoint around all these different leagues. But you're starting to see this. Messi wanting to come play here says a whole lot. And there's a lot of players that are going to want to come play here and be part of this growth and this opportunity. And so when I go out and look at it 10 years, the way we're going to measure it is, are we going to be one of the best leagues in the world? That's success. That's what we need to be striving for.
And Tony, that shared vision is what MLS's mission is. You know, to be a league of choice for fans, for partners, ultimately be one of the top soccer leagues in the world and one of the influential major leagues in North America. I believe we're getting close to that now. So what will the next 10 years look like? It's going to be getting all of the teams we have in the league, soon 30, that are going to be deeply embedded in their community and very relevant, building broader fan bases. We had over 10 million fans, ticket buyers this year. That's going to continue to grow. We're over 90% capacity in our stadiums. How do we translate that fan interest that's very focused on attending games and a unique fan experience into a global media product so that we are not just a player in the global sport, but we become more of a global league? That means having a different player pool. It means thinking about our media environment outside of just what is local and thinking about local being very different about that. Could we have more than 30 teams and have a different competition structure in 10 years? Perhaps. I mean, the world, we should never say never to any opportunity of what the future, 10 years from now, is a lifetime away. Growing and doubling our fan base is our goal by 2027. So if that's 2027, what's it going to look like in 2034? Ultimately, it's bigger, more, better, more value for all of our stakeholders.
Another great point is, think of 10 years. Every 8-year-old to 16-year-old today, when I was a kid, you played Little League. Today, whether you're a boy or a girl, you play soccer. So all of these kids that are growing up today in the U.S. playing soccer, we want them to, again, go play and strive to be in the MLS and have the best athletes in the world go play in the MLS. And those kids are going to become incredible fans of these teams that are in their markets.
And Tony, I know you got to wrap up. That pyramid, which all of us in our world think about every day, there's a fan pyramid. How do you get somebody who grows up with a ball and shares that experience with their family as a participant? And how do you connect them to a local team, whether it's an MLS team or an NWSL team? And frankly, how does that fit into the ecosystem of everything else that's going on with other leagues? But it's also about player development. I mean, this is a business of soccer conference, but it's also about the MLS pyramid of academies and every MLS team having an academy, having a great young player, Xavi, come out of your academy, play for your first team, have a desire to maybe play with Argentina and decide to play for the U.S. national team and is going to play in the Olympics. That was unthinkable a number of years ago if that player had that option. And by the way, now he can play with Leo Messi. So the competitive pyramid is an important part of our strategic plan, but it's also how does that align with fan growth from the community into your home, into the playing environment so that we could develop some of the best players in the world. And much of that is happening as we speak.
Eddy, anything we missed?
No, we're excited. We've got a Messi documentary coming out before the end of the season about the World Cup That's amazing. We were following him 3 months before the World Cup all the way through. That will be coming out at the beginning of the season. We've been doing a Messi documentary following this season, where we've had 5 episodes, and the viewership has been great. So we're as excited as ever about what the future holds, and it's been a great first year already. And as I said, I think next season is going to be even better.
Thank you for making us part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thanks.
Thank you.